All right. This is so exciting for me. Welcome everyone to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. As always, I am your host Adam Smith with Just the Tips Coaching, and with me, pretty much as always, unless she's the one kicking me out, is our marketing director and one of our other coaches, Jen Waybar. Good morning, Jen. Well, it's morning where we are.
It's true. Hi, Adam.
Hi. I am actually coming to you guys live from Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada, where there is a great mortgage conference going on this week, the Momentum Builder Conference. And our guest this week also happens to be one of the speakers at this event, although he has yet to travel to Las Vegas. But please welcome to the show, Rene Rodriguez. Rene, hey man, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here.
Good to be here, Adam. And Jen, good to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I can't remember, but it may have even been pre-pandemic. We were in Austin. I know the three of us all spoke at that event. And Rene, oh no, we did get to see you at Originator Connect. You had a half-day event there at that event. I don't know, a year and a half ago, I guess, at this point. So it's still been a minute. And Rene, you have had an amazing run in that time frame. The book is out. It is incredible, and we're certainly going to want you to talk about that. And you've gotten married in that time frame as well. You've had a couple of big years, man.
This last year has been definitely a whirlwind. I think I wrote it down. We did 235 days of speaking, 59 podcast guest episodes, 18 of our own. We wrote the book, bestseller, 8 different marquee press releases, not press releases, but picked up by some pretty cool magazines. And got married, moved into a home. It's been wild. It's been wild, but it's a good thing. Very, very, very fortunate. That's for sure.
Well, and these are huge milestones. I mean, major life events. And in the time I've known you, and it hasn't been eons by any means, because I'm not going to admit how old any of us are, but you've obviously been doing Amplify for all of that time, which is an incredible event. If people haven't seen it, they certainly should. And fill us in on that and what that event looks like. And then tell us about the book. I've gotten through about half of it. I cannot believe I forgot to bring it to Las Vegas for an autograph, but I'll just have to get over that. Maybe I'll find some other copies of it around this week. But tell us about all the things. We didn't know there was a podcast, or I didn't. Jen may have. No. But back it up. From the time we've met you, you've been doing Amplify. What is that event about?
So Amplify it's really an event to help people, from broad sense, is amplify their influence or just maximize their influence. And so, but we got to understand what influence is. And I think this whole influencer world has clouded that name a little bit. Influence to me is something that is synonymous with leadership. It's synonymous with persuasion and sales. It's about influence and behavior and thought. And there's a science to it. And there are specific things that you can do to learn it. And so we help people go through the process of learning the science. And now this isn't a course where we just learn a bunch of party tricks that you read in a book. It's not like, I'm going to learn, just little tricks and things. This is truly learning the inner workings of how our brains work, how people make decisions, how we connect to information, how we reject information, and then how our language helps that process or hurts that process. And then we're also learning the body language that either contributes or takes away from the process. And so, but the biggest piece is really getting to know who you are and what you believe. And so we help people first, and I can teach you the body language, the sequencing and the micro expressions and the timing and all of that stuff. But if you on the inside haven't figured out who you are, and that's such a big question in terms of what you believe and why you even exist, it's a hard thing to build upon. And so when I talk about this sort of existence, I'm really talking about purpose. And purpose, we simplify it because I think people are much closer to it than they realize. People are trying to live out their purpose through what they feel is unique about themselves, which is usually a reflection of what their personal values are. And if we can identify what those are and how those translate into their behavior, specifically into what they would think would there be unique attributes, then we can start being more intentional about how we approach things. But then what's the magical outcome of that is it becomes the origin story. Your origin story answers two very important questions: is how you got to where you are today, and why you love serving the customers that you serve. And when you can do that, it comes back to a very specific time frame in growing up and specific people that have affected us positively and negatively, but all have taught us lessons. And if we can articulate those lessons through the story of our life, people connect with that. And then when we transition from that past story of our life into current business value proposition, problem solving solutions, it becomes a really powerful combination. And then you deliver that with authenticity and congruency in body language. Now all of a sudden you're deadly on stage, in front of a room, one-on-one, etc.
Deadly. That's a good way to put it. We've always talked about the fact that we sell with storytelling. That's obviously been a nomer of the sales world, certainly of mortgages, of real estate, of all of the people that would fit into our coaching client base, your client base, so on and so forth. But this obviously takes it to a whole new level. And the book obviously translates a lot of this, but it's very, very difficult to and don't get me wrong, Rene, the book is magnificently written. It is so much fun to read.
Thank you.
However, I do think something gets lost in the translation versus those of us that have had an opportunity to see you live, to work with you live. It really drives it all home. If you get an opportunity to see Rene in person, please, please take advantage of it. And we've gotten a bunch of commentary this week about people who've been fortunate enough to see you, and even recently. Unfortunately, I haven't, but I will get to here in the next couple of days.
We can solve that easily.
Phenomenal. We are going to solve that inside of 48 hours. It's incredible. I'm so excited about that. And then obviously the Amplify event, an opportunity for people to really get hands-on is the wrong term, because it's mind on, it's emotion on, it's heart on, to spend a couple of days in a really small group. It's always been people that are really tight with each other. Very rarely do I see where it's outsiders. It's usually 8, 10, 12 people that already know each other, know some of the backstory, so on and so forth. So yeah, if you guys are listening, watching live in syndication, whatever, please, please take an opportunity, get a copy of the book, go see Rene speak. And if you can do an Amplify event, I cannot recommend a more solid heart, mind, body language building activity than the couple of days you would get to spend with Rene. It's really, really incredible. So Rene, tell us about the book. How long was this in the works? Because you've been doing this kind of content, this kind of education, this kind of, God, it's such a misnomer to use education as a word to describe what people can gain from an Amplify event, or even just from seeing you speak at a half-day event, or even for an hour or so, which I'm looking forward to this week. But all of the things that we've learned from you over all of this time really are culminated in the book. So I've got to assume you've been working on it for quite a while.
Close to 30 years, I'd say, probably now. It's something that
fair enough.
Yeah, it's, I started learning about the brain when I was just got in college. I went to school for behavioral neuroscience, and I started selling cookware door to door right away then. And learning the application and the hardcore understanding of what sales is, persuasion and influence at that age, and then learning the science behind it, now spending almost 30 years studying it and applying it. I tell people I'm not a researcher. I'm more of an applied person, right? Applied science. And asking the frustrating questions and saying, okay, that's great, we've got those results from X, but what does that mean to make me a better communicator? What does that mean to help me close another deal? What does that mean to help me resolve conflict? How does that help me be more confident, raise self-esteem? What does that help me in all these things? And when you have the ability to read the research and then translate it into something that is business applicable immediately, that's where I think the value is created. And so for me, Amplify came together as one, a reflection of my own journey to learn how to be in front of a room, how to articulate something, because I wasn't somebody who was articulate growing up. I was somebody who was starving for words. Unfortunately, I used these as a kid, and it was because I didn't know how to defend myself verbally. And so I just had to resort to fighting. And, as you get older, that's just not a fun solution. And you learn that there's methods to it, there's processes to it, and there's there's something you can learn. And so kept getting asked over and over, can you teach me how to do this? And then we realized that, well, the only way to learn how to be on stage is to be a speaker is to learn in a public setting. We can't learn public speaking in a one-on-one setting. It's just like learning how to shoot a gun for war in a simulator. It's just not the same. The brain chemistry isn't the same. The stress level isn't the same. And so when you can learn under a state dependent sort of environment that reflects the place that you're going to be delivering at, you learn in a much better way. But, applying the story and learning how to do it, it's been a long process. And then when we were asked to write the book, it was cool because, one, it was my favorite publisher in the world. Wiley is incredible. They publish all my favorite authors, and so it felt like getting drafted into I always wanted to play in the NBA. I felt like I was getting drafted, and so they did that, and extremely supportive group. They're very difficult in their requirements in the sense of if you can't prove within a few years of research what you're stating, it doesn't go in the book. And so it made me better. It made me better at understanding what I believe. It forced me to dig deeper into my assumptions and to really get clarity around what I felt the truth was around a lot of these things. And, writing the book forces you to articulate and think through the thoughts, and to such a level that, especially when it's going to go global, that that I'm going to be held accountable to these words, and I can't take them back. And so you get really super clear on what you believe that you're willing to put out there. And I believe, a lot in the integrity of the research and making sure that I understand things and trying to preempt things. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, I've used the triune brain theory since I was in 17. And 17, the triune brain, the lizard brain, the reptilian brain, the limbic system, neocortex, where we talk about fight, flight, freeze. And it's actually debunked. And when I was writing about it, I went back and I had to search for it, and I realized it was debunked in the late 90s. And what a crushing blow, because it's like so much content on that. And so then I started digging deeper into it. And I talked to a bunch of my neuroscience friends and mentors, and they said, Rene, there's a concept called literally inaccurate but metaphorically accurate. And it's so we don't have a lizard brain that functions that way. We don't only function out of it. We actually use more of our brain. It's much more complex than that. But metaphorically, it's a great way to understand how the brain works. And so, they say we still use it too. And because it's just a great way to help people that don't need to be scientists understand behavior and why we work in a certain way. And I was like, okay. So I did a whole piece on the concept of literally inaccurate, but metaphorically accurate. But then I got a chance to go into it and speak metaphorically instead of scientifically on that piece of it, which was actually kind of fun. So it's been a long process. We're only beginning. A book takes 2 to 3 years to get into mainstream, and we reached number 298 in the world. We were number one Amazon everywhere, and we hit number 2 Wall Street Journal. We were in USA Today, Publishers Weekly, but we've hovered around 10,000, top 10,000. But then recently, this last week, we were at like 1,100 something. So it's cool being on the same, like, seeing Chris Voss 2 books away from me on the bestseller list still. We're still like 12 on one of them, and so it's cool. It's fun to see.
It's very cool. And I think one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle that has really kind of changed my mindset about it and about Amplify and about the book is that I'm finding more and more content that's applicable to my interpersonal relationships rather than just my sales relationships, my marketing relationships, but that with my wife, my kids, my team, my friends is also really starting to pay dividends as I've gotten through all of this content, as I've been able to spend time with you. I really think it's important, at least in my mind, to emphasize the fact that the content you've got, the things that you're teaching and writing about, aren't strictly sales related. I think that there's just so much encompassing just the way humans relate to one another that it's paid dividends in every aspect of that for me.
And you hit it right on the head. And I tell people, like, okay, so I spoke 235 days last year, 37, whatever, and I still spend more of my time influencing one-on-one. So most people don't get much time to influence in front of a room. Most people do it one-on-one, which is great. And when you learn how to do it one-on-one, then you learn 1-on-2, and then maybe 1-on-5. But most of the time we're influencing in a one-on-one scenario, person to person. And influence matters just as much to a school teacher, a police officer, as it does to a CEO. And it matters to a parent and their child. It matters to a child, to their parent. And in fact, like, to me, influence is universal, because if you look at the opposite of influence, because it's a great way philosophically to understand the value of something, is to look at its opposite. And you say, okay, so let's pretend I have no influence. I walk in a room and no one notices. I tell a joke, no one laughs. I sell a product, no one buys. I cast a vision and no one follows. I share an idea, no one cares. I feel insignificant. I feel invisible. And if I feel insignificant, I feel invisible, that means that I feel like I have no impact. And then I start asking myself, so why am I here? Here. Why am I in this meeting? Here. Why am I on this team? Here. Why am I in this world? And so that's a bigger question of purpose. And so then we go, okay, let's say that I have influence. I walk in a room, people notice. I tell a joke, people seem to laugh. I sell a product and people are buying. I share an idea and people like it. I cast a vision and people follow. Now I feel significant. I feel like I have impact. I do something and the world responds. And when I feel like I have impact, I feel like, okay, that is my purpose. That is the direct tether to purpose, is what I believe. Can I communicate it and people act? And so therefore I must be here to cause that action. And it happens in every aspect of our life. So, I mean, parents need to influence their kids to brush their teeth and stay away from drugs and alcohol, to do well in school. And, we need to influence people to purchase our products and follow on and comment and engage. We need to influence our spouses to stay interested in us and to love us and to do all that stuff. The applications are endless. And I tried to write the book in a way that really hit on all those factors.
I think that you have. I don't think that there's any question. I would say, and don't get me wrong, I think Amplify and the events that you speak at and so on and so forth have that influence, the exact influence that you're describing. You tell a joke and people laugh. You make a statement and people respond to these kinds of things. And obviously, we've had enough time with you to study where a lot of that is, in fact, the words you choose, your body language, so on and so forth. But I really had never made the connection. I'd never bridged the gap between it being applicable in a sales world, in a public speaking world, in a coaching world, to my personal life. And the one that really just struck a chord with me is how valuable that would be to a police officer, for example, who has to interact with the public, sometimes in a group setting, sometimes on a one-on-one basis, so on and so forth, sometimes in arenas that they have no idea what to expect when they're walking in. And that really strikes a chord with me. I just can't imagine how well, for those of you that are watching or listening, the lessons, the value, the content on how you deal with yourself, with each other, with your relationships, and certainly in your sales and marketing world are just invaluable. And Jen, I'm sure that you have applied a ton of this content already. You've seen Rene speak, and I think there actually is a way. Is that the website actually? SeeReneSpeak.com, if memory serves.
It's actually Meet Rene.
Meet Rene. Okay.
Yeah, we moved away from the See Rene Speak piece.
Okay.
But it'll still forward, so it's all good.
But Jen, this has to apply in every aspect of your life, our coaching practice, your yoga. You've obviously done a ton of MLM type sales stuff, which would, in my mind, have enormous applications with Rene's content.
I mean, really, I'm going to take a step back because I don't know if Rene will even remember this, but Austin was my first mortgage event really speaking at. I spoke at our mortgage event, but this was the first time Adam was like, hey, I've been told that you're going to speak in Austin. And I was terrified. It's an intimidating group of successful human beings, by all means.
Especially those characters.
Right. Right.
And we know what you guys all know what I mean by characters, right? Yeah.
Yes, we do.
I love that group.
But then they announced the schedule and I'm speaking after Rene. And I
Tough
was
act
like,
to follow.
You have got to be kidding me. And you were just so kind to me and told me to
Oh.
lean into my story and who I am. And I was speaking on marketing to millennials, which couldn't be more my niche, what I do, who I am. And I do think that was a turning point for me. Like, you told me that I was the one who was a leader,
Chosen.
a thought leader on this, and I was chosen to be on that stage. I am listening to the Audible version of your book right now because I bought both, so I do have both.
Thank you. That's awesome.
But yeah,
I remember
think,
that conversation now.
Yeah, it was so meaningful to me, and it's something that's really
that's
stuck
cool.
with me.
I'm glad. It's funny, like the whole following people thing and stress that we create for ourselves, and it's I love when people are new in the game and getting at it, because it begins there. It begins with that feeling of oh my God, am I going to be okay? Oh, I got to follow this so and so, and I've had to follow Tony Robbins and Gary Vee and Ed Milet, and and I'm at the point now where it's the mantra is, so I've been chosen for a reason, and I wasn't chosen to be Gary Vee or someone else. I was chosen to be Rene. You were chosen to be Jen that day on a specific topic, and it's when you can let that go is where you actually allow your heart to sort of speak on what you believe. And I like to remind people, and before they go up there, just to remember why you're here, and forget about you. Who's the audience and why they're all here to listen. And how many times have you been in the audience, and what did you feel? And usually when I'm in the audience, I'm usually looking for help and guidance. And there's people chosen to be guides and people chosen to help us through some of that stuff. And when you can remember that, then you move out of the impressive mode and into a servant mode, and to serve that audience. And because the most humbling thing about speaking is that you don't own your credibility. I don't own my we call it ethos. We don't own ethos. We don't own our credibility. Our audience does. And I can go up there and be credible, but if I bomb, or if I become arrogant, or if I become pompous or show off and drop names or whatever I did, like I just did with Gary Vee and those guys, in the wrong context, your audience can take it away, and it's immediately. And so then you realize, okay, I'm here to serve this audience who's taken time, and they're gifting me with attention, which is the hardest thing to get right now. So I better just serve, and I better serve boldly from my heart on what I believe, period. And so, yeah, I remember that conversation. I'm so glad that helped. And I think it's, you were chosen for a reason.
Yeah. I've talked on a lot of stages since then, and it's definitely stuck with me, and I appreciate it.
Cool. I love it.
That was a really cool interaction. I agree.
Oh, sorry.
Did we lose somebody?
Out for a second? Yep. So tell us about the event you're speaking at this week, Rene. Tell us about what's going on right now.
So we're going to Momentum Builder, hosted by Don and Gino at DG Media. Two good friends. Great. These guys have just had a passion for trying to do events. And I mean, this is a difficult time to do an event, and these guys are pulling it off. They've got an incredible lineup of speakers in the mortgage industry. That
the best
some of
I've ever seen.
Yeah,
25 years in the industry, the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, and people that haven't been on stage for 20 years together. You get Todd and Barry Habib have not been on the same stage for many, 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 many years, and so it's going to be fun, and it's always good. I think right now people get it wrong. I think they start to tighten up in times like this, this is the time to invest, and you tighten up at the apex of your business. You tighten up then because you know you're about to go down this roller coaster. And so tighten up and get ready. And then when you're at the bottom, now drive revenue, drive investment, market more, communicate more, go to the events, learn as much as you can. This is the time to do stuff like that. And so helping people understand that sequence. It's like buying a stock. People say, well, everyone's buying, let's buy. Oh, everyone's selling, let's get out. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. And it's the same with investing in yourself. It's got to be the opposite of what we emotionally think it is. So I'm excited. It's going to be powerful.
That's interesting. How do we break that cycle? Because you're absolutely right. The volume of people, and for example, Jen and I and a few others in the gang had decided to put together that event that we had done in Austin last fall. The amount of people that wanted to participate or interact in it was disappointing, to say the least. Okay, Let's put it back on its regular track. We'll do it in February. Same kind of result. We really are fascinated by how little people want to hit the gas at this point.
Yeah. But I think that comes to our opportunity to influence. And to me, if you're used to people hitting the gas easily, then you're in a lucky time period. Sales is about communicating value that's typically unseen to your audience. And if you want to add real value, you help uncover value that the audience hasn't seen, didn't even know existed. And that means that they got to uncover budget that they didn't plan on spending, but to get value they didn't anticipate was there, right? So it's all there. People forget that I'm getting you to spend what you didn't expect, but you're also getting value that you didn't account for. And so this is not even an even trade. You should be getting more than what you're giving me, period. I should be giving you 5x. So for every dollar, you should be get 5 from me. And that's how I look at it. And so that's why I have no problem pushing. Because if I say, hey, you got $1, and they go, yeah, I got $20 here, and you want to trade? You're like, nah. I'm like, wait, hold on, dude, what are you thinking? Yeah, I got $20 to your $1. Why don't you want to? I just don't know. I'm like, you need to wake up and do this. And here's why. When's the next time you want to go on vacation? Are you going to be able to save? This is going to allow you to do X, Y. Oh, okay, I didn't think about it that way. Okay, so trade me, you knucklehead. And that's what a sale should feel like. And it's okay to push. It's okay if you believe. I call it caring enough to be unreasonable. And if I care enough about you and I really truly believe in my product and I know it can help you, I'm going to be pretty unreasonable to your no. And I'm going to do it with love. I'm going to do it with story. But if you tell me no specific, now if you legitimately can't afford it, and I can do the math on that and say, you know what, this isn't a good time, of course I'm not going to push. But if I know you can and you're being emotional, we're going to have a discussion. And because otherwise, why am I selling what I sell? I better believe in it to my core. So yeah, this is a tough time, but it's tough for everyone. And this is called the business cycle. And it's also going to ease up. It's going to get better. So this is the time to take market share. Or as I like to say, eat out of other people's bowls that aren't paying attention.
I like that. I think Adam might be frozen.
I like that
I think
a
that's
lot.
really. Oh
No, I'm good. And it's amazing. Yeah. So valuable. Rene, I'm so excited to see you speak this week.
Likewise. I'm excited as well. And I appreciate you doing the podcast. I appreciate you guys having me up here, and you're being very gracious with the book. I appreciate all of the nice things you're saying, and it inspires me to keep doing it more. They're actually asking us to do a second one, which is like, we feel like we're just getting started with this one, but we've got a lot of really cool things that are coming. We're actually going to be starting a very exclusive mastermind that is going to be 3 events per year for a very, very sort of, I say exclusive, people that are sort of vetted out through application, that people want to really grow and push themselves. And so we're doing some fun stuff, and we've got our next big virtual event. Our first one had 2,300 people. Amplify Your Sales. It's coming up. If you just go to Learn with Rene, go to Meet with Rene, click on events, it'll come up there. It's only $97. And so it's not something that's there. And I always tell people, if you can't afford $97 right now, then send me a message and we'll get you in for free. This is something that everybody needs to be attending. And, to me, it's an honor. People are like, whoa, you're giving away for free for those that ask? I'm like, yeah, it's an honor system. And we did it. We had 23 people pay last time, and I gave it to those that can't afford it, can come for free. And I think we had 8 people do that. I'd never tell people who they were, but people are of high integrity. If they can afford it, they'll do it. And if they need help, they ask graciously. And I'm like, of course. And let's get you back in the game. And if I can help, 8 people get back in the game through the knowledge, they'll come back later on and either help somebody else or maybe come back and purchase something from us. And so we see it as a long game.
I love that. Yeah, I will say, when your book came out,
this is.
Go ahead, Adam.
We all should look at it that way. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Wow. Rene,
I think Jen, you're going to have to take us home.
I know, right?
Yeah, Jen, right. Here we are. Jen, take us home.
Well, real quick, I did want to say, when your book came out, Rene, we must have gotten endless messages of, have you bought it yet? Have you read it yet? And I think it was Keith Geringer who was like, oh yeah, I've read it 3 times already. And I swear it only came out like 2 weeks ago. So
that's cool.
I think
Pete's a great
everyone
guy.
will be very excited at the idea of a second one for sure. So
Awesome.
all right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. Somehow we are in season 6. We are booking May of season 7, almost June of season 7, which is incredible. So a big thank you from Adam and from me for all the support of the show. We really appreciate it. If you want to find out more about us, you can text TIPS to 63566. It will give you all of the information. You can get past episodes of the show. You can get our weekly little tip, book a free hour of coaching, get a copy of Adam's book, Just the Tips. And then big things, Social Media Day Denver is Friday, June 23rd. Tickets will be going on sale very, very soon. If you are interested in speaking or sponsoring, please reach out to me at smdaydenver@gmail.com. And then Mile High Mastermind, this sounds like a long ways away, but September 29th and 30th. It will be here before we know it. Somehow it's already February. So if you're interested in speaking or sponsoring or attending any of our events, definitely reach out again by texting TIPS to 63566.
Awesome.
Are you here with us, Adam?
Thank you, Renee.
Cool.
I am. Renee, I cannot thank you enough. I know we've had this in the works for some time. And I know it's hard to carve out some time. We won't keep you too long because I know you've got a flight to catch. So I will see you here in the next couple of days. And again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for doing it.
Thanks so much, Adam. It was an honor to be here, and I appreciate everything you're doing. And just a tip, my friend.